Did Bria Hartley just deliver the dirtiest hit of the WNBA season, and then instantly get hit with karma herself? Fans are outraged after Sophie Cunningham was taken out with a torn MCL in a collision that looked anything but innocent. To make matters worse, new footage shows Hartley smirking right after Sophie went down, fueling suspicions it was no accident. But here's where things take a shocking twist. The same player accused of a dirty hit is now out for the season herself, and the timing couldn't be more ironic. Was this just coincidence, or the basketball gods serving some instant karma? The play itself didn't look clean from the start. Sophie Cunningham took the brunt of the contact, fell straight to the floor, and immediately reached for her knee. She didn't even try to get up. Trainers rushed over, teammates gathered around, and the mood inside the arena turned heavy. Instead of the usual bounce-back moment you expect from a hard fall, Sophie had no choice but to head straight to the locker room. Her reaction told you everything. That pain was different, and everyone watching knew it. As the play that just occurred. As she tries to slide over right there, Hartley just kind of falls and makes collision with that lower leg. You see her immediately grab it. And she went down hard and was clearly in a lot of pain. But what kept people talking wasn't just the injury. It was the image that came out right after. With Sophie still down on the hardwood, cameras caught Bria Hartley with a smirk on her face. Call it a grin, a laugh, or whatever softer word you want. But fans saw one thing. A player appearing to enjoy the moment right after an opponent hit the deck clutching her knee. That frame spread across social media in minutes, and suddenly it wasn't just about the hit on Sophie. The accusation was simple. That's not how someone reacts if it's an accident. Fans argued the smile said more than any press release ever could. And once that photo made its rounds, it didn't matter if Hartley meant it or not. The perception stuck. Even when Sophie herself tried to calm things down by saying she was just in the wrong spot, it barely slowed the outrage. Fans weren't buying it because the photo didn't match her words. People could accept basketball being physical. What they couldn't accept was someone appearing pleased with another player's injury. And this wasn't Hartley's first time facing that kind of criticism. That's what made the reaction so severe. The smirk hit harder because the league and its fans had already noticed Hartley's flare-ups and physical confrontations before. So instead of being shrugged off as a one-off bad look, the photo became Exhibit A in a growing case against her. It didn't take long for commentators and writers to start labeling it the dirtiest play of the season. Headlines ran with outrage. Fans flooded comment sections demanding accountability, and the referees drew heavy fire for swallowing their whistles. Instead of protecting Sophie, officials once again looked soft on enforcing safety. Make no mistake, the fury wasn't just aimed at Hartley. It was pointed at a league that punishes players for criticizing refs faster than it punishes reckless contact. Making all kind of excuses to say that Bria Hartley is not a dirty player. Let me tell y'all something, man. Come on in here. Come on in here, man. Let me tell y'all something. If it quacks like a duck, walks like a duck, eats like a duck, it's a duck, man. Come on, man. She is the dirtiest player in the WNBA right now, winning the trophy. All right, winning the trophy for. Don't sit here and try to tell me Bria Hartley is not a dirty player by the end of the week. The conversation wasn't about one game. It was about credibility. It was about whether the WNBA would step in and send a message or do nothing again. Either way, Hartley's smirk had locked in her reputation in the eyes of fans because that snapshot told a story they already believed. And the disturbing part? This wasn't new territory for her. Was Sophie Cunningham just another name on a growing list of opponents left frustrated by Bria Hartley's reckless style? That's the question fans were asking the second her collision with Sophie went viral. Because while some people might want to chalk it up as one bad play, the receipts on Hartley run long this season, and they don't paint her as an unlucky victim of circumstance. They paint her as someone who keeps finding herself in these low-light moments. Take the dust up with Angel Reese earlier in the year. It wasn't just typical post-play. Fans called out Hartley for grabbing Reese's hair in the middle of a rebound battle. You don't confuse a swipe for a fistful of braids, and Reese's reaction showed how blatant it looked. That clip circulated fast, and by the time everyone added it to Hartley's reputation file, she already had another incident waiting. Rebecca Allen became the next name attached to her, after she caught a shove that had fans again pointing fingers. None of those moments got major punishment, but When you stack them up together, it's easy to see how people started building the case that Sophie Cunningham was never going to be the last. So Mike put this up about an hour ago. He said to all of those defending Bria Hartley, look at what she liked on Instagram. Emo. She's the dirtiest player in the league and should be kicked out. Most recently, Sophie Cunningham has been hurt with the knee tear and is out for the season. Look at this. Look at this. Now, Bria is the definition of consistency. Now, this is her likeness. This is her likeness post. Y'all see that? Breezy, 1414, and others. Bria is the definition. She's likeness. Look at this. Dev taxes and Bria Hartley always being at the scene of the crime. Now, that's her choke slam at Angel Reason, and this is where it hit the boiling point. Fans weren't seeing isolated accidents anymore. They were seeing a pattern, and patterns changed the story. By the time Sophie was down clutching her knee, Hartley's leftovers were already scattered through the season. That made it nearly impossible for anyone to believe the smirk was just a bad look caught at a bad time. People remembered the Reese hair pull, the contact with Allen, and now a collision that shoved one of the toughest players on Indiana. Indiana Fever fans wake up pissed off today. Pissed off. Not only are we getting assaulted, but they're smiling about it. This is the 6th time they've smiled, laughed, and cheered on our Indiana Fever players getting assaulted, getting injured. And it pisses me off. The anger only exploded further because officials seemed blind to it all. Fans blasted referees for letting hard contact slide one game, then calling ticky-tack fouls the next. There was no standard. That inconsistency is what fueled the narrative that referees were complicit, allowing Connecticut's physical play to go unchecked, while players like Sophie took the hits. Then you add in the fact that Sophie herself was fined earlier this season for criticizing those same referees, while Hartley faced no consequences after targeting players repeatedly. For a lot of fans, that double standard was impossible to ignore. Even Sophie's own family had seen enough. Her sister Lindsay and mother Paula spoke up, questioning why the league wasn't stepping in to protect players from situations like this. It wasn't just upset fans now. It was her family putting the WNBA on blast. And their frustration matched what a lot of Fever supporters were already feeling. If the league refused to act, then players would keep getting hurt. Maybe you should focus, her sister. Maybe you should focus less on fining players for commenting on your poor officiating and more about hiring officials that are capable to call a consistent game and protect your athletes. Pathetic. Praying for you. The only good thing positive surrounding Sophie Cunningham come out of this game, she looked in good spirits in the locker room. That's why talk of suspension started almost immediately online. Fans pointed to other cases where reckless plays drew discipline, and they demanded Hartley face the same treatment. They had already placed Hartley in the dirty player box, painted the league as corrupt, and seen Sophie as the one left sacrificed. But before the WNBA even had a chance to make a ruling, things took an unexpected turn. Fans were ready for the league to step in with some kind of punishment. Suspension chatter was everywhere, and the outcry was loud enough that most assumed the WNBA would be forced to respond. But then, out of nowhere, an announcement completely shifted the narrative. The Connecticut Sun confirmed that Bria Hartley won't play another game this season. Not because of disciplinary action, but because of a right knee meniscus tear that immediately ended her year. The timing couldn't have been more uncanny. The parallels were obvious, and fans wasted no time connecting the dots. Sophie Cunningham had just been ruled out with a torn MCL, a gut punch for a Fever team that already felt like they'd taken too many hits this season. And now Hartley, the same player at the center of Sophie's injury controversy, went down with her own devastating knee injury. Both sidelined, both facing long recoveries. Except for Sophie, it came from being on the receiving end. For Hartley, fans viewed it as a payback delivered faster than anyone expected. It didn't take long for the instant karma storyline to dominate social media. Fever fans who'd been furious just days earlier suddenly shifted their tone from outrage to vindication. Posts celebrating the symmetry popped up everywhere, with people calling Hartley's season-ending injury a kind of justice the league itself refused to hand out. Whatever term people used, payback, irony, or poetic fairness, The message was the same. Fans saw it as the basketball gods stepping in. So said, wonder if she's grinning now. What is the cover? Oh, yes. Prayers do come true. Ha ha. Somebody said people could play it by ear. Somebody said, man, the storyline of this league is incredible, man. I did an incredible video talking about the injuries, dog. You might say, oh, that's terrible news. That's a voodoo doll. No more head hunting for her. That irony stung even more for Connecticut. Losing Hartley stripped them of a key rotation player right when intensity spikes the highest. For a team built on physical play and toughness, the loss wasn't just a headline, it was a setback to their own ambitions. The same aggression that earned Hartley a reputation became the very thing her own team had to manage without. Somebody said this was her karma. She went into every game this year and either tried to bully someone because she knew her team had her back, or she did a dirty play on someone she knew her team had her back. She never stood up for herself and then injured someone for the whole season. Gets where her team ended up injuring her. Meanwhile, Sophie kept showing the kind of grace that made her easy to root for. Even after her injury, she refused to throw Hartley under the bus, telling fans she held no ill will and still considered Hartley a friend. That contrast only boosted Sophie's image. While fans unleashed anger online, she carried herself with calm honesty, creating an even clearer divide between the supposed villain and the player who kept her dignity through it all. And in a twist no suspension could ever have matched, fate removed Hartley from the equation entirely. Without the league lifting a finger, she was off the court, unavailable, and no longer a threat. That left the spotlight spinning back to Sophie Cunningham, whose resilience in the aftermath became the real storyline worth following. Sophie Cunningham didn't stay quiet for long. Within days of her injury, she made it clear that she wasn't about to fade into the background. Her first sign came on Twitter, where she fired back at critics with a sharp response, F around and find out. That 4-word post told you everything you needed to know. Even sidelined and fresh out of surgery plans, Sophie was ready to fight, not just for herself, but against anyone taking shots at her or her family. It was short, direct, and left no room for misinterpretation. Well, you come at Sophie's sister. You come at Sophie. And Sophie saw this comment, and bless her heart, she answered it. She answered it. Some of us were raised by the words of, quote, don't bite off more than you can chew. And some of us didn't. Quote, F around and find out. F around and find out. Kiss. God bless this woman. Yeah, seriously, she's great. What made that tweet stand out even more was how different it felt from the way she handled the same situation on her podcast. There, she showed restraint, even calling Hartley's hit a basketball play, while stressing she didn't believe it had malicious intent. One message was about grace and perspective. The other was about fire and defiance. Together, they gave fans a full picture of who Sophie is. A competitor who doesn't hold grudges but also refuses to get walked over. On her podcast, she was transparent about the recovery process, admitting she would undergo surgery and officially be done for the season. She didn't sugarcoat how tough the road ahead will be, but she also sounded confident about what comes after. Gratitude was one of the major words she leaned on, thanking the Fever organization and teammates for holding her up. It was a window into her mindset, frustrated by the injury but still choosing to frame it with positivity and determination. Her family didn't keep things as measured. This is where the Cunningham fighting DNA really came through. Her sister Lindsay openly criticized the WNBA for punishing Sophie with fines for criticizing officiating while doing nothing to rein in dangerous plays that actually injure players. Her mother Paula went even harder, calling Hartley a disgruntled player having trouble everywhere she goes, and labeling her plain mean and out of control. For fans already angry at the refs and the Sun, those words only added fuel. Through all of this, the Fever were forced to keep climbing uphill. Injuries piled up, hardship contracts were signed, and the roster looked thin, but this team refused to fold. That resilience showed up in Kelsey Mitchell's 38-point explosion against the Sun, a performance that earned her Eastern Conference Player of the Week. Lexi Hull stepped into a leadership role, proving she could hold a team together through turmoil. Even without Sophie, the toughness she embodied spread across the roster. And then there's Caitlin Clark. The team continues to play it safe with her return, giving only day-by-day updates, but everyone knows what her comeback could mean. Sophie's injury hasn't broken this team. If anything, it's revealed a depth of fight that could set them up for something bigger than anyone expected. Bria Hartley's season-ending injury grabbed headlines, but that isn't the lasting story. The real focus is Sophie Cunningham, her toughness, her honesty, and her refusal to let her haters define her. Even sidelined, she turned an ugly situation into fuel. And look at the fever. Kelsey Mitchell continues dropping huge scoring nights. Lexi Hull is proving steady leadership, and Aaliyah Boston keeps battling inside. Add Caitlin Clark back into this lineup, and suddenly the playoffs feels wide open. The league failed to protect Sophie, but Indiana doesn't need saving. They're already writing the comeback story themselves.